but I want to start with talking about the most obvious thing that we just never talk about. And it is, what is money, right? I mean, we are like, well, you got to buy Bitcoin, you got to earn some yield, you got to pay your debt, right? All that stuff. But what is money, right? Where money comes from, and how money makes money, right? I bet you most of you don't know the answer to that, right? So it is really a complicated topic. It's not so easy, right? I mean, if you go back a few thousand years, we did barter, right? I had a chicken, you needed something else, and we exchanged one for the other, and we both went our merry way. Then we created coins that carried their own value. So the coin was made out of silver or gold, and the weight of the coin told everybody what it was worth, right? So you could use that coin anywhere, and it was basically worth the same, right? So then we basically created, the Venetians actually created this concept that you can put coins with in some safe place, and they give you a note. They give you a piece of paper that said, I owe you 5 coins, right? And Medicis were the first ones to do that in Venice, and in Venice, and what's the other city in Italy? My God, I blacked out. But anyway, Florence. Thank you. Here, I'm cheating here. I have a lot of help here. So in Florence, basically, you could give that note from the Medici family to anyone, and they would accept it as 5 coins, because they knew that they could always go back to the Medicis and get their 5 gold coins, right? But what happened over time is that we replaced those notes that were actually had gold behind them with pieces of paper that had nothing behind them, right? And we call that fiat currencies. Fiat currencies come from the Latin word fiat, which really means that there's nothing behind it. That's what it means. So it's free floating. And so today we live in this world where our society operates relying on these notes, right? Most of it is digital. And none of us really know what's behind it, and is that system sustainable? So you can look it up. It's not something I came up with. 100% of the fiat currencies that ever existed, right, lost all their value. There isn't one fiat currency that has ever existed that still carries its value. Even the US dollar, which is a fiat currency, already lost about 99% of its value since it was created, right? And over time, at some point, it's going to be worthless. It's going to be replaced with something else. So if we know for certain that that's the outcome, we just don't know when, isn't it better to have a doomsday insurance policy? And that's really what we're talking about. When we talk about Bitcoin or gold or things like that, we're talking about what is the insurance policy that we need, and how much should we have in insurance? Right? Like they teach you, oh, you should have life insurance in case you die. Your family is going to be fine because they got to be paid by this and that. So, so that's kind of like the situation that we're in, where we have effectively money that is just printed, right? The government, Biden already announced that he's going to print another, in addition to the $3 trillion they already printed and gave away, another $1.9 trillion, right? So do the math, right? So 26% of all the money that ever existed, dollars, was printed in 2020. And when they print this more money, it's going to be over 30%. And if you go back to 2008, I think Tom has a slide for us on this. If you go back to 2008, 76% of all the money that existed over the last 200 years was printed since 2008, right? So what does it tell you? Right? So when you listen to people tell you there's no inflation, the internet access cost me less, my phone, my wireless service, right? What I pay monthly for my phone costs less, everything is going down. No, money and how much money is in circulation is going up like never before. Okay, it's like on a rocket, right? And here, going to the moon is not a good thing, right? Because if there's many more dollars, your dollars, the ones you've earned, the ones Amazon or some other stock with, are worth 76% less since 2008. So if the stock market is up 100%, it's already up 100%, right? It's only up 14% in net terms compared to how much money was printed. So how is money being created, right? Let's talk about that. A lot of people think that the government prints money, but the fiat system in almost every country in the world is not printed by the government. Like in the United States, the government actually does not print money. The government borrows money, but all the money in the United States is created either by banks when they issue credit, right? Or by central banks when the government borrows from the central bank, right? So the government prints IOUs, it prints debt, and the central bank buys the debt. Now, who owns the central bank? The Federal Reserve. It must be federal, right? It ain't federal, and it has no reserve. Let me repeat that, because a lot of you, what is Alex talking about? He must have smoked something before the show. It ain't federal. There is no connection between the Federal Reserve and the government. The only connection is that the President of the United States appoints the governor, the person who's running the Fed. But the Fed is
quote,
actually
unquote, there's no connection, right? Because I mean, now if in the new presidency, we may have a previous Fed chair be the new Secretary of Treasury. So that really blurs the line between the quote unquote private Fed and the government itself.
right. So I think it's the first time in history that, at least in the United States, that a former Fed chair is the Secretary of Treasury. If not, maybe Volcker was also. I have to look it up. But you're right. The point is that the Federal Reserve is actually owned by the U.S. banks. Like JP Morgan, I think, owns something like 13% of the Federal Reserve. And when they make money, they pay dividends to the banks. Like if you dig through the JP Morgan financial statement, you will see an entry of dividends they received. Well, guess who pays them those dividends? The Central Bank of the United States, the Federal Reserve. But it's not federal, and it has no reserve. The balance sheet of the Fed is a spreadsheet. Okay, so it's just the numbers on the spreadsheet, which represent how much money it created. And recently, it created trillions of dollars, right? So in an effort to boost the prices, the market prices because of Corona and so on. But this chaos, this havoc that we're going through today started on September of 2019. It does not start with the coronavirus. If you go back to AMA's, if you go back to my AMA from September 2019, you will see that I was the canary in the coal mine. I sat here, well, not here, I was a different place, but, and I told you that the repo market just exploded and something really, really bad is going on because hundreds of billions of dollars are being funneled from nowhere into the repo market, right? Repo stands for repurchase. This is where banks repurchase obligations from each other. And when they're sitting on their hands and they're saying, I'm not buying anything from anyone, I don't trust anyone there, that is when you know something really, really bad is going on. And again, this has nothing to do with Corona. Corona was another problem on top of it, right? And then we went from just 500 or 600 billion, which is what the Fed put into the system between September and November of 2019. On top of that, we put another several $1 trillion. So all of that, again, it's a long story to tell you that money is created. How hard do you work to create some money, to be able to pay your bills, right? These people create money for nothing, you know, and the chicks for free. No, just kidding. That was
at trillions at a time too. Like imagine how long it would take.
You missed the whole joke.
Robert Kiyosaki had a great saying. He says, how long does it take to save $1 million? He said, oh, it could take 20 years. And then how long does it take to borrow $1 million? It's about 15 minutes. Yeah, and that's the difference.
Exactly. So the problem we have is that unfortunately for example, the Republican Party used to be the party that was the hawk on deficit, right? There were the guys that were making sure. Today, the opposite. They're arguing with each other who should print more money. The Democrats and the Republicans are arguing, no, I wanted 1.9. No, I want 3 trillion. No, let's go even higher, right? So why? Because again, most of that money is not going to reach you. Most of that money is going to go to the people who are close to the plate, and they're going to become richer, right? When the floodgates open in Washington, unfortunately, most of that money does not reach me and you. It's not an airdrop, okay? In crypto, it's definitely not that. So we know that money creation has nothing to do with productivity or GDP or inventing the internet or creating something completely new. It has everything to do with the stupidity of men and the fact that our short-term, we don't think about the long-term consequences when we make short-term decisions because we have a pandemic or because we have something else. So moving on, right? So how money makes money? You know, like I try to ask my kids, like, how does money make money? And they look at me with this staring, like, right, well, what are you talking about? You know, money doesn't make money. So banks, the entire business of banking is making money from money, right? So you can charge somebody interest, you give them $100, and at the end of the year, they're going to give you back 105. Or labor, right? You work and you get paid money, right? But money on money, right? Just the ability to create yield is actually something that is the cleanest or least the system with the least friction. And for all of us, right? For all of us, if we have to put our hours, replace our hours with dollars, we only have 24 hours a day. You got to sleep, you got to eat, you got to go see a movie, you got to spend time with your family, right? So you have 8 hours left or 10 hours left to basically convert them into dollars. And so it's a very, very finite resource. But making money on your money is something that is infinite, right? Meaning JP Morgan has trillions of dollars and they return 16, 17% on that entire base. And if they had $100 trillion, it would be returning that on hundreds of trillions of dollars. So yield creation is almost like the secret fire that they only keep in the Acropolis. It's not to be given to the ordinary man. It's not something we want to share with the average Joe. God forbid if the average person learn how to make money on their money, right? So part of what we're trying to do here at Celsius is really first create that system, then allow everybody to participate in it on an equal basis and teach you how to do it, meaning you don't have to rely on us. If you learn the mechanisms, you can go and use that system anywhere, right? As long as you understand how money makes money.